Greetings, everyone. We want to welcome you today to the We Are Flora Pearl podcast. I am your host, Latasha J. Humphrey, founder of the Flora Pearl Foundation, Incorporated. I am super pumped to get into this podcast today. But before we get started, we want to let our audience know that this podcast is being brought to you by the Flora Pearl Foundation, where our vision is bridging the gap, building a legacy. Our mission is that we are a 501c3, community-focused nonprofit mentoring organization, building healthy relationships and partnerships between women and girls through education, community service, networking, unification, and career planning. Our inspiration is Flora Pearl Humphrey. She was my paternal grandmother who taught me and my family about faith, family, and community. And that is where I draw my inspiration from. Now, audience, I have the pleasure of introducing to you to a beautiful gem who, in my opinion, is one of the brilliant minds of this generation. She is a phenomenal young woman with a very bright future ahead of her, and I met her initially at the YWCA Central Alabama. She is most certainly a force to be reckoned with, so without further ado, I present to you Nakia Jones. Hi, Nakia. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am excellent. And if you would, just go ahead and briefly introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay, so my name is Nakia Jones. I am a recent graduate of Auburn University. I just received my master's in marriage and family therapy. So with that, I want to be able to work in the mental health field with individuals, families, couples, and people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different things that they may go through with trauma or just even anxiety, depression. I don't really have quite a niche per se because I'm, just starting out and I want to be able to get a plethora of experiences, but I do, I love working with like kids and teenagers, if I was to say.
Okay.
Yes, that is what I love to do. I love helping people.
That is awesome. Okay, then see how my introduction flowed. It kind of just flowed right with it because you backing it up. No, but we just want to go ahead and we're going to jump into the topics, Nikki, and we're going to have some fun. So, being a millennial. At times, and I know that millennials tend to get a bad rap, right?
Yes.
So I wanted you as a millennial, if you could, have the opportunity to kind of share with people what you think and just how you feel and what you would want them to know about millennials for real. If you go ahead and do that.
Okay, well, first, at times I don't really identify as a millennial.
Okay.
But then I'll explain that because I kind of grew up in a very old school type of environment with my parents and with my family. And so for me, I know the values in which I was taught is you always respect the adults. You listen to them, you recognize what it is that they're teaching you, but then you also apply that to the belief systems that you have, garnered after you've left home, basically. But if I was to say as a millennial, I guess to kind of debunk that myth about us getting a bad rap would be to always start at a level of understanding. That's something that I was always taught, to give people a chance to voice what it is that they're feeling, what it is that they're thinking, why do they make the decisions that they made, but then also come from a level of, okay, well, I understand this, or I agree with this, or I don't agree with this, and then knowing that that's okay. And then as a millennial, for us, my input would be for us to do that same thing, come from that level of understanding when someone is older than you or they have a different perspective of you or different beliefs system. Because one thing, like I was saying, is that value of respect. In order for you to get respect, it's earned. But in order to get that earned, you have to start with the level of understanding. So if I was to answer that question that way, that's how I would say, always start with understanding.
Well, I wanted to kind of follow up even with that. That's awesome. As it relates to the generations, just how you were talking about, just even starting with that level of understanding. There's always talk about there being a generational divide, and I can see it in a lot of different ways. But what basically do you believe that that's true? Let me ask you that question.
Okay, yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because I feel like there's a divide because sometimes when you have older adults, they're so, I guess what I would say, they're so kind of not set in their ways, but it's always like either you do this or if you don't, then it may be wrong. And so, like I said, it's not that where there's the understanding of where, hey, here's the path that I'm taking. So I just need you to come alongside and guide me there. I don't want you to say, oh, you shouldn't do this because of blah, 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 blah. Or maybe, you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like where, it's just kind of like this thing of where, okay, here's the path I want to take. Just come alongside and help me and guide me through, And then the part of where I feel like there isn't such a big gap is because I have met older people who I have a really good bond with, and like even in my younger years, I would be with more adults than I would the kids, and the adults would be like, you need to get out the kitchen, get out of grown folks' business. And it wasn't that I wanted to be in grown folks' business, it's just that they had so much wisdom that I wanted to just gain and understand, and that I recognized at a really young age. And for some reason, that's just what I was attracted to. I was attracted to the knowledge that the people that I grew up with had, and I wanted to emulate that. And I knew that if I wanted to emulate that, I had to be around it. You know what I'm saying? I had to be around people who were doing things that made me feel good, like, watching my uncle when he would work on the farm, or watching my father when he would work on cars, or watching my mom when she would take me to work. Just being able to be around them and kind of gain an understanding of what it means to just be a good person,
Yeah.
And so I feel like, there's a yes and a no question. And I kind of teeter-totter in between both. And like I said, it kind of piggybacks off that first question of where you have to reach a level of understanding, but then you also have to reach a level of where you have to meet people where they are,
Yeah.
And that's how you create that cohesiveness, and you create that bond, and you create, that relationship where you want it to be when whether it's with colleagues, whether it's with coworkers, whether it's with your family, your best friend. It's just this really good level of understanding. But then too, you have to understand you have to have boundaries, because there are some people and some things you cannot take from.
Right.
And so you want to be able to know when to say yes and when to say no, and you want your no to be a no and your yes to be a yes, and which sometimes that can be really, really challenging.
Yeah. And and it just a lot of what you're talking about. It seems to be like one of the topics we want to talk about is relates to support systems. And so I just heard you. You talked a lot about just interacting with different people, even within your family. And I wanted to know though, when you do hear that phrase support system, what exactly does that mean to you?
Okay, so my support system. So because my life has I've gained a lot of resilience because of the experiences that I've had. And, everyone has those experiences where they're hard, and they're really difficult. And I feel like from those experiences, I've recognized that I've had people in my life who have been there to change it in good and in positive ways. And so, like, and it's funny too, because though my father was incarcerated when I was 3, and I was really, really, really close with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And so going through that experience, it was just kind of weird. I was like being 3 and 4, and I remember this like really vividly. My daycare center, it was called Kids World Daycare Center in Demopolis, Alabama, and my teachers there were like my family. Okay. And it was weird because like when I was going through that transition, I was recognizing how much love was around me. Like, even though like my world was like falling apart and crumbling, I still was able to recognize like, wow, I have these people here who love me, who are guiding me, who are still there. And like, even, my aunts and uncles, of course, during that time. But different people that I didn't expect, like, friends of the family, to just come and be a major support system. So I guess at that age, I recognized that, love is real, and love extends beyond just blood relatives. It extends to those people that are there for you, like your teachers, your caretakers, and I just learned that your community is a big part of what makes you who you are. And so when I hear support system, honestly, I think about people that I've grown up with, and I think about people who've been in my life, and you call them friends for the road. Like, sometimes I would know, like, okay, you're not going to be here for a long time, but I would value that relationship and know that, okay, you're a support system and you're here for now in this season and in this moment. And so what I'm basically saying is, when I hear support system, I recognize all the people in my life, really, and I make sure that those relationships are important, and I also make sure that I'm, as having those boundaries, but I'm also pulling from those relationships and creating truth, and then also that I'm also learning in those relationships, because you have to understand that when people come into your lives, whether it's for a season, it's always for a reason. And whatever that reason is that they're there, you want to learn from that, and you want to be able, and whether it's good or bad, or it's them showing you, like, oh, I need to fix this because that's not good. and so that's what I feel when you say support system. I just think about all these people that have impacted my life, and right now I'm in such a reflective stage too, of how important my relationships have been for me and to me, especially after graduating, because that was a very different experience for me, getting my master's.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. And just even with that, go ahead and just talk about that some more. As it relates to you getting your master's, like, how, in that moment, what did you feel?
Okay, so it was about I guess you could say 2.5-ish years of getting my master's, because so I graduated from the University of Alabama in 2016, and then that August, I was going to Auburn. And so for me, that first year, honestly, it was a major culture shock. It's totally different from UA. So in UA, it's very diverse. You see so many different cultures, so many different people, so many different opportunities, and it was great, and it was just such a great experience for me. However, being in Auburn, that experience was totally different because it's not as diverse as UA. Being in Auburn, it's almost like you kind of go back in time, if you will. My experience was one of where basically I had to kind of relearn my environment, basically.
Wow.
And I was immersed in an environment where you have a support system there. However, you have to know how to maneuver that support system, because you're in a very research-based and a very professional world, which is, I can operate in that world, but it was just on a total different level, So I had to kind of take, I guess, what it is that I lacked and learn and how to gain. I had to build those muscles, basically, those muscles of professionalism and those muscles of research, and trying to adjust to the environment and the culture of Auburn University. And I struggled. I struggled in that first year because I felt like I didn't belong.
Okay.
I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. Even though, like, this was my dream and this is what I wanted to do, it was literally the first time in my life where I'm like, maybe I should go do something else.
Okay.
And then it was like, maybe I should switch this up, but I stuck with it. Like I said, my support system, I would just talk to my mom, and she would say, look, this is where you're meant to be. She would say, even though this experience is hard for you, even though, you're struggling, but this is where you're meant to be. And then two, another major thing that helped me stay along was, so we went to this conference. It's called it's like the American Family Therapy Conference. It's a huge conference that they have every year. And I went there, and it was in October, and it was in Atlanta. And before I went, I was like, I'm dropping out of school. Like, I was thinking that in my head. I was like, I'm not staying. I was like, I'm going to go to this conference, and then I'm just going to quit.
Oh, my.
I went. That's how bad I was feeling. I was just like, I'm not getting this. And I just had so much self-doubt. But I literally went to that conference, and I saw people that looked like me. You know, I saw Black professionals. I saw Black women. I saw Black doctors. I saw people of color who were doing major things for their community and what they believed in. And that gave me the strength I needed to just be like, okay, I'd be really dumb if I don't do this. And then I'd be like, and I would tell myself like I was like, you have to do this because it's bigger than you. You know, this is just a season of where you're going through change, and it's hard and it's challenging and it's really, really tough. Like, I'm telling you, there'll be days where I would just cry because I would feel just not in a very good place about myself and about being smart. And when I was there, it changed my perspective so much. Just being around people and learning like about their journey and about how they had to overcome so many different obstacles just to get where they are, and knowing that I wasn't alone. That was another major thing for me, because it's like I wasn't alone on my journey. Like, someone was here before where I am now, but they made it, you know? And so by having that and seeing that and creating those relationships with people there, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then, like, after then, I took a complete 360. I was myself. You know, I was able to really bask in myself as just an individual and as a woman, but also as a Black woman in a white space. Like I was saying, Auburn is not as diverse. And so I was having a difficult time trying to adjust to being Nakia, the Black girl.
Okay.
and so it was challenging for me, and I had to kind of get out of my head and go to my heart and be like, and I had to kind of coach myself and say, you're here for a reason. You're giving a voice to your experience and to people that look like you who may not be in this same space that you are. But I had to tell myself that this is okay. You know, I had to tell myself that I may not be in a place that comforts me the way I'm used to, but that's okay.
Right.
You know? And it's like, you can make it, and what I did was I created my own world, within Auburn. So what I would do is I would be professional, I would be myself, but I would also, display my culture in ways that I felt comfortable. Like, I didn't feel like I had to make myself small in a room. I felt like, I was just really myself. And it would be funny because I would look at people and I would see their facial expressions. And some of their facial expressions was like, why is she doing that? But there were times where I was like, this is me and this is who I am. And I wouldn't be here if God didn't allow me to be in this space. And I'm going to be myself while I'm in this space. And I just had this confidence in myself, and I really dove into my studies, and I made it a part of myself. Like, how it says, take with this bread and eat. And that's what I basically did with my studies. I just made it to where I was learning it, and I tailored it to my own experiences. And I just really bodied it.
Yeah. No, I love
really
it.
Was just right. I was just like, okay, this is me and this is what I'm gonna do. And so basically I became my dream. I became my vision. Like, I envisioned myself to be this really dope therapist who could really get into the hearts of people, no matter what their color looked like, no matter what their sexual orientation looked like, no matter what their religion looked like. What I wanted to do was I wanted to show love and I wanted to show respect, but I also wanted to show that Black women are professional. Black women have hearts. Black women are passionate about what they do, and so I just made that a part of myself in that space, and I felt like I was being really true and authentic to who I was. Sorry if that was a mouthful.
No, I love it. I love it. I have so many different things that's just going around even in my head about it. Because even when you said like you owned it, and you took it almost like the bull by its horns. And, I saw something the other day, and it was just saying that you belong in every room that you step in. It's like when you come in there confident and you own it, it's like you basically you announce I'm here. And that's what it seems like, happened when you went to that conference. Like, you had that support, you had your mom, really giving you those words of encouragement, but then going, and that's why I believe that representation matters. When you are able to go and you were able to see a reflection of you, then that was what then helped to propel you, to that next level. And like you said, being able to kind of own that. And I wanted to even talk with you a little bit about that. Like, so recently, we were able to launch, which is one of our programs. It's called the Will to Win Institute. And we're able to launch it for 9 months. Like, we started out with a pilot program a few years ago, some years back. And then we launched it into the 9 months. And, our goal really is, to impact the lives of young women and girls. And so even most recently, all of the class itself was African American girls. And, just like you talked about your experience, even in being an African American woman in an environment that, where you felt like you didn't belong, I wanted to know and ask that you share some key pieces of advice, kind of those words of wisdom that you would give to young women and girls, even if they find themselves in whatever situation. It may not be similar to yours as far as college, but just period. What would you share with them about what you have experienced?
So 3 things that stick out most to me is one of my mentors, he gave me this quote. I was in high school, and I walked to his office one day because I would walk in his office in the morning times before school, and he said this to me. He said, "To thine own self, be true." And I was like, "What?" What does that mean? Like, how you randomly just say that? But he said it again. He said, "To thine own self, be true." And when he said that, it has literally stuck with me since I heard him say that. And what that means is, whatever it is that you feel and believe about yourself, despite what other people may say, you have to dig deep into what that is. You have to trust it, because there are going to be times where you're in these spaces where you feel like you don't belong, you feel uncomfortable, where you feel like you have to make yourself small. And when you hear "to thine own self, be true," what that means is you have to embody the belief system that you have. You have to literally breathe it. You have to literally walk it. And of course, there's levels to that, and there are going to be times where even when you don't believe it, but what you have to do is you have to say to yourself, "I belong here. I'm meant to be here." You have to give yourself those words of encouragement and those affirmations, because even when I was seeing clients, in my internships, a lot of times I would give them affirmations to say, because they would have those same fears, And I think what it is, and even then I was facing those same fears, and it was great to be able to be on that journey with them to say, "Here's what I had going on. Here's what I've done. And this is honestly what has helped me in my life."
Right.
And so first things first is to thine own self, be true. Be true to what you believe. Be true to what you feel, and really, really listen to what your heart is saying to you, because that's your voice, guiding you. And the second thing I would say is, and it kind of goes with the first one, but journal.
Okay. Wait.
I know some people are probably like, "What? Journal? What you mean journal?" But seriously, write down what it is that you're feeling in moments of strength, of triumph, of weakness, of sadness, powerlessness, or where you just feel like you're on top of the world. Write down those moments, because what it does is it filters out, what you're feeling, and it gets your mind to kind of slow down. And and what it does too, it helps you take inventory of where you are. So something too is that I'm always writing, and I'm writing down my goals. Mm-hmm. And usually I write down my goals like in the beginning of the year, or when I'm starting a new journey, and I say, this is where I want to be, this is what I want to look like, and I meditate on that. I get that image in my head, like before I even write, and I picture myself doing something, whatever it is that I'm doing. How do I look? How do I feel in that moment? And I write it down, and I write as I go along, like day by day, week by week. And eventually I become that very thing that I'm thinking, that I'm feeling, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And and it becomes real. It becomes like, wow, this is what I wrote down, and I'm doing it, I'm becoming it. And then too, like, even I pay attention to like the music I'm listening to, or what I'm reading, or who I'm around, or what I'm watching on TV. And like, it'll be funny because what I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing will come back to me, if that makes sense.
It does.
And that's how I know, okay, I'm in alignment with this. And sometimes too, you have to listen to your gut. Like, if I'm getting knots in my stomach and I feel uncomfortable, then it's like, okay, something ain't right with this. I gotta take some inventory, because I gotta stay away from that. And the third thing is prayer.
Yeah.
My prayer life is what grounds me. It keeps me, and it strengthens me too. My prayer life has always been a part of me, and it has always been something that I hold dear to me, because even when I'm journaling, I actually make that a part of my prayers. Like, during that time, that's when I'm talking with God, and we're having our conversations, and he's like, okay, you need to do this, or you need to slow down here, or you need to pay attention to this. And he'll just say, here's what I want you to do, or here's what I need you to say, and it's like, when you pray, like I said again, it puts you in alignment. It makes it to where you're understanding where you are, you're understanding where you want to be, but then you're also, something that he keeps telling me is like, it's not the destination, it's the journey. Because sometimes I get so excited about where I want to be that it's like I may skip some steps, and he's like, no, slow down, come back.
Right.
And so what I have to do is I have to take those moments, those quiet times that we have together, and really tune in and listen to what he's saying to me. And for those are the three things that I would say. And I know some people are probably like, that just sounds so corny, but and it may feel silly at first, if you're not used to doing those things, if that's not even a part of your ritual, and I don't knock anyone, because like for my guys that I would have, and they're my teenage boys, honestly, what really got them going was being active. If that's something that keeps you going, if that's something that grounds you, then do that. If it's running, if it's soccer, if it's boxing, whatever that is, find that thing that grounds you and that keeps you, but also find those moments to where you can really quiet your mind, because you find solace in that. Because sometimes when you're not, giving yourself a chance to really feel where you are, you kind of lose sight of your path. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so sometimes you have to be able to ground yourself in those moments. And those are the things that I would say to our young Black girls, is that, you can have a moment to take care of yourself. Because I feel like too, like with my upbringing, there are times where I felt like I had to be the second mom, and there were times where I had to learn how to slow down, because I'm so used to seeing so many strong women in my life, just, being this powerful force where they're, they're working, they're getting their bills paid, they're doing this. And it's just like, you got to find that time to slow down and take care of yourself. And those are the things that I do to take care of myself, because I know that I have to be my number one too. You know what I'm saying? I got to fight for me. So my fighting for me is when I slow down. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Okay. Well, and I want to ask you, kind of switch to like, even with the counselor, therapist, just, even as it relates to that role, sometimes, and just like you just said, with definitely women of color, African American women, where, the ones you've seen, it's kind of, that you have to be strong, you have to do this, you have to do that. And even within our community through the years, it's gotten better now as it relates to therapy and counseling, where people actually talk about it, and it's kind of maybe become a popular thing. But for years, it wasn't always that. And I wanted to, see if you could share kind of some misconceptions about that, and what would you tell people about therapy and counseling?
Okay, so this is my heart. I'm so excited about this question. But so when I was in my internship in Auburn, I really didn't have the opportunity to experience the whole Black people don't go to therapy.
Okay.
Because a majority of my clients at my internship site were African American, and because they were in therapy, I never had to have that conversation or we never had that, between client and I, that, therapy is, I'm crazy, or I shouldn't be here, but there's something wrong with me. You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of like there's this mutual understanding of where I need to be here and I want to be here,
Gotcha.
And so for me, I didn't get to see that, and I understand what where it can be a stereotype and it can be this huge, thing, but it wasn't something that I experienced with my clients that were African American. It was just kind of where we were able to create a bond in a relationship, a therapeutic relationship, where it's just like, okay, what is it that you want to do? Where is it that you want to be? And I think the myths that are coming up is that, our therapy comes from church. Our therapy comes from, God, which is true, that is. But then I also believe that having that therapy with another person who is a therapist, who is, licensed or on their way to getting licensed, I feel like that is also important. And I also feel like that you don't have to go to therapy with this misconception that, there's something really, really wrong with you, or that, you shouldn't go to therapy because, that's a sign of weakness. And that's something too that I would, hear people say, and it's like, no, that's not true. When you're able to ask for help, and when you recognize that you want to be in a better place, that is so powerful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That there's so much power to be able to say, can you help me?
Yeah.
And I think what happens is we get so used to being, I have to be strong, I have to be this Black queen, or I have to be this Black king. But we have to understand that not all of us are superheroes, that not all of us are able to, not anyone really is able to do it alone. We have to be able to carry each other's burdens, but we also have to be able to recognize when I need to slow down.
And I just feel like being a queen or king, it doesn't diminish because you may have a challenge to come up. And I think that's a misconception, even with the superhero. And I've heard that, but I'm talking about being a queen or king, or being a person of substance or integrity, and just, being a person evolving, within this world. It doesn't mean that you are perfect. It doesn't mean you're picture perfect, put it that way. Like I heard, I was listening to J. Cole, like on the way home, and the song he said, for the line, and I may mess it up, I'm gonna paraphrase, but basically he was saying, he said, no, we're not picture perfect, but we still picture worthy. You know what I mean? I don't have to. No, because he was talking about Crooked Smile. That was the name of the song. And it's just, it's like, I don't. No, that whole, let's just shatter all of that. This whole thought that this is what it has to be in order for us to, in order to be a queen, I have to be perfect. No, I don't, because a queen, she can have her hair all over her head. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Or it could be whatever. I mean, it's just, it's just society.
Right, and it can also be sometimes, what people are taught, they're not taught that, you should go to therapy, or sometimes it's kind of swept on the rug if there is like a major mental issue, like, oh, they'll get better, and sometimes it's because we don't have the education that we need, or sometimes we can be in denial about things and not take that time out to be like, okay, we really need some help here,
Yeah.
And I think that's something too that we just as people have to understand that it's okay. It's okay. And that it's also, it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you like you were just saying, where you have to feel like you have to be perfect. We're not perfect people.
Right.
But we're all worthy of a chance to be able to be the best version of ourselves for ourselves,
Yeah.
because when we're able to give to ourselves, then we're really able to give to other people, and so it's like we have to be able to see that, I'm still worthy, even though, even if like someone suffered from mental illness, or even if someone has had a traumatic past, you are still worthy, and you're still worthy of being able to heal from that,
Right. Yeah. No, that's good stuff. Awesome. Well, I do want to segue to our next segment, and it's this relationship matters. And
Okay.
And so I know, like, you have had the opportunity to read the book, and I wanted to know if you just share some different things about it that stood out to you.
Okay, so from when I was reading the book, the major thing that stuck out to me was, which also thank you for writing, because I really think that this book is going to be important for so many moms and their daughters to be able to really create a real true bond and relationship that matters to them. And
Thank
so,
you.
yes, and because the relationship that I have with my mom, I understand that she's my mom, but she's also my best friend. And so, being able, when I was reading the book, the two things that stuck out to me was basically how, like, and it was kind of like piggybacking off what I said in the beginning, where there's this understanding of the relationship of where you both want it to be, and also of where you both want it to be authentic. And that was what stuck out to me, in terms of having a real authentic relationship, a mother-daughter relationship where it's a real and a true bond. And the second thing that really stuck out to me was also how we don't have to mothers don't have to let the past relationships that they've had with their mothers dictate how they have the relationship with their daughter. And I think that is really important, because you have to be able to, like I said, take inventory of how your relationship was with your mom, but then also kind of figure out, okay, what is it that I want with my daughter? Because when I was reading this book, I was thinking back to conversations that my mom and I have had. And my mom would always say to me, she would always say how I want my relationship with you to be different, than it was with my mom. She would say how, not saying that relationship was just, bad or trouble or anything like that, but she would just say how, she wants it to be where there's that mutual understanding, and where there's that trust, where you can really literally come to me with anything that it is that you have, or anything it is that you want to know. Let me be a resource to you, but also let me be a guide to you. And that was something that stuck out to me the most, because it's like you have to make a commitment. And I remember reading that in the book, where it was like you have to make a commitment with each other about how you want the relationship to be, but then also what you're going to do to make sure you maintain that. Because, as the daughter, you're going to be growing, and, that's where I am. I'm growing, and I'm learning, and I'm maturing, but I'm also taking, so many pieces and examples from my mom that she's been able to give me, so many golden nuggets, that I've been able to carry from the wisdom that she has. And that was something too, like, oh, that's the third one from the book, was basically being able to take the experiences that your mom has had and apply them to how you learn and how you adjust, and also let that relationship be where it's just where you can always come to your mom,
Yeah.
and how that can also help you grow as a woman into your womanhood. So that's another fourth thing. I'm like taking so many different things.
No,
but it's just
that's
like
good.
the next thing is womanhood. That was another thing about this book that I really feel like it. I don't know, I keep saying this, but it embodied that. Like, what does it really mean to be a woman?
Right.
You know, like what really does that mean? And then from the perspective of a mother and a daughter, you know, that's going to be generational, you know, because your mom's going to be the example of womanhood that you see, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that was definitely something that I took from the book, was like how to have authentic womanhood. You know,
Right.
like, what is it that you believe as a woman? What is it, what values you have? What, you know, what is core to you? You know, and what have you been taught? What traditions have been passed down? And that was something else that I, you know, took from the book, was like, you know, being able to define your own womanhood. And I think something that, and honestly, with the way I've grown up myself, but then also being around the people, like friends, and also seeing how different their mother-daughter relationships are, it's just kind of like everyone has a different picture of what womanhood looks like, you know, and that's not a bad thing, because I think what we need to do is be able to take from each other and apply that to what we believe, and help to kind of like let the queen in us rise. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does.
Yeah.
And
so that, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
no, but that's the thing. And like I mean, that's perfect. You know, just like you said, letting the queen in us rise and just evolving. When you said something earlier about, you know, even maintaining it, because it's almost as though the book, you know, just even in writing it, that was what I was given to write. However, I'm finding myself like I'm growing along with it as well. Like, it's not
Right.
just like I have it all together, because I don't. It's not this perfect picture. It really does take that word that you said, that maintain. It takes that. I'm learning. My daughter's growing. You know, I mean, she's 16 now. That's totally different from when she was 10, or, you know, I mean, just even because it was like before, I was managing the process. So it's like getting into that kind of that stage of helping to like counsel, you know. It's different. It's not because she has her, you know, the way that she sees it. And I don't want her to do things because I want her to do them. Like, I've had to get to that, because that's kind of when you talked about where you come from, just certain things that you saw was like, you do it this way, and you people please, or you know, you want to make sure everybody's good, or these different things. But that was something like kind of while your mom said, I just wanted it to be different. And, you know, my relationship with my daughter, I wanted to be different than my relationship with my mom, you know. And it's like you said, it's not so much good or bad. It's more so that preference, you know. And there are some things like I've had to kind of course correct, like certain things, because I saw myself then becoming maybe some of the things I wanted to do differently. And I'm constantly, you know, just choosing to grow. I'll say that. And choosing to, well, what do, like you said, even when you talked about your goals and how you see yourself at the beginning to the end of the year, it's really even with the relationship. I want us to constantly grow. And so it takes work. You know, any relationships that you got to put that into it. You, like you said, that commitment. I mean, it's so much that goes into it. I mean, it is really a lot that goes into it. And so it's whether you have those two willing people, because I always say that it takes two willing people for any relationship to grow. And it doesn't matter. It's not just romantically. It's also family. I mean, you know, it's all of those relationships, work relationships, all of those things. It takes two willing people. So yeah. Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I do have a few questions that I wanted to ask as relates to your mom. So, what has your mother taught you about yourself, Nakia?
Okay, so for me, my mom has definitely taught me how to be a go-getter. She has taught me so many ways how to just, if I have something that I want to do, to be a planner.
Okay.
growing up, I was not a big planner. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go do this, and then it just be like I would run before I walk, and she'd be like, okay, what did you think about this? Did you think about this? And I'm like, oh, you know what? I surely did not. It's kind of like where I was saying earlier, where I see myself doing this, but then I'm not adding the necessary steps to get there. So something that she has definitely taught me is how not only to have dreams and aim high, but also be able to prioritize the steps to get there.
Love it.
And so she's definitely taught me the art of patience. Being able, being able to see yourself somewhere, but also see the strengths that you have, but also the challenges of maybe the weaknesses that you have, where you have to strengthen those muscles. Like, okay, I need to do this a little bit better, or I need to pay attention to this. And so she has definitely taught me how to, be patient with myself, and to also be okay with getting feedback. Because, like, even now she'll say it. She's like, you just don't like getting feedback. Which, in a way, is true. Because, I have this idea of what I look like and where I want to be. And when she's coming and, putting me in my place and correcting me, I'm just like, I'm grown.
I know, right?
And then she's like, well, you ain't too grown to get this feedback.
Girl.
And so I would say that's some of the biggest lessons, she's taught me. But then also something else too, that it's funny because I was thinking about this like last year, and I remember I was writing this in my journal. She has honestly taught me the art of what it means to love. Like, my mom is like a real, like, she just embodies love. Like real unconditional love. Like, she's been through so many different things, in her life. And I'm like, wow, I can only wish to be half the woman that you are, because, the way that she loves, like I was saying earlier, when I was younger, I knew what love was because of her. Because of how she loved other people. Like, even when people would do things that were just wrong, how she would be authentically forgiving. Like, you wouldn't ever hear her, like, if she was to forgive someone, you would never hear her back talk them, or, backlash, give them backlash, or just say, you did this and I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, she would just let it be like, okay, I forgive you, and move on, And it was just being able to be under a woman who does that is amazing. Because I'm not always like that. I was the type of person where you do something, I'm just like, okay, you gotta go. Bye.
Okay,
like,
quick. Just quick with it. Look.
Right. Like, ain't no questions, ain't no nothing, you just go. And so from seeing what love is, from watching the way she loved, is like, wow, like, I aspire to be that way. And so I would say those are things that, she's kind of taught me about myself, how I could be better at loving, like fighting for love. I'm not saying I'm not a lover, but I am going to say that there are times where I will be like, okay, I'm not going to fight for this, Yeah. And it's like and she'll tell me that. She's like, Nick, she's like, sometimes you give up too quickly or too easily. And she'll say to me, like, just give it a chance, She was like, be patient. And so that's something that she's taught me about myself. And then she's also, like I did say this, how she taught me how sometimes I want to get there quickly, or sometimes I need to just slow down. So that's why, too, I journal and I pray, because that's how I slow down. Because I'm so used to being energized up in here. I'm going. I got this goal over here, Okay, ain't nobody in my way.
Right.
Right. It's just like, okay, boom, boom, boom. And so she tells me, too, she's like, slow down. Like, be able to enjoy the moment and the journey. And, and that's something, those are, I would say, two major things that she's definitely taught me about myself in this season that I'm in right now.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Well, I do have a series of questions that I would like
Okay.
for you to answer. So it's kind of going to be a back and forth, and we'll
Okay.
go from there. So let's get started.
All right.
What book most influenced you?
Oh, okay. So the book that most influenced me, does it have to be one? Can it be two?
I'm gonna let you have two. Look.
Okay. One of them is the autobiography of Malcolm X. That book was amazing. And then the second book is called Our Town. I think it's by Orville Wells. I read it in middle school, and it was a play, but I remember I think I was like 13 years old, 14, and I read that book, and it just changed my perspective so much. And I just remember learning about life and the importance of life itself. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I remember being 14, and I remember just kind of learning so many different things at that time. But then it was just such a pivotal moment to me because something just kind of clicked inside where it's like, I'm important. I matter after I read that play. Yeah.
Awesome. What keeps you grounded?
Keeps me grounded. Journaling and prayer.
Okay. What work would you do for free?
This is what should I do for free? Giving people sound advice.
Okay.
That's what I would do for free.
What question do you wish more people would ask you?
What question that would ask me? That's a tricky one. I've never heard of that. If I had to say, I would say the question that I wish more people would ask me would be, it would kind of be something in relation to themselves, but what makes you matter? What makes my life important? That's something that I would say.
Okay. What is something that every woman should try once in her lifetime?
Oh, hiking. Like hiking on a nature trail, at least once.
All right. What is the last thing that you binge watched?
Good Girls from NBC.
All right. What is advice you would give to a woman with a broken heart?
To love herself. Love herself. Put herself first. Like I was saying, the quote I said earlier, to thine own self, be true. I would say that.
All right. Where would you like to visit if you could go anywhere?
If I could go anywhere, okay, so I would go to Kenya, and it's they have this tribe called the Samburu. That's where I would go.
Okay. And excuse me, excuse me, what are 3 qualities that have got you where you are today?
Okay, 3 qualities I would say is being authentic. I would say being kind and being respectful. Those are 3 qualities I feel like have gotten me to where I am. Yeah.
All right. And if you would share a time when your faith has been tested and how you came through it.
Okay, so I said this earlier, so it took me 2.5 years to get my degree when it was only supposed to take me 2. So I had ended up finishing all of my coursework, but then you have to do a thesis at Auburn. And so I had a troubling time getting my thesis together with my committee. And for me, like I was saying, I'm the person where I'm a go-getter, and if something don't go the way I done planned it, then it is a major, major struggle for me. So the challenging part of that was having to have that half of a year, because not only did I have to do that, I had to pay for it out of my own pocket. I also, the most difficult part of that was feeling like I went to the top of my game to being at the bottom. And then the other part of that was challenging was watching other people live out their dreams, and I felt like I was stuck in a nightmare. That was what was challenging, was because I worked my butt off and I was still told to wait. And it was really, really challenging, and a major test of my faith was because I was like, after I had my aha moment in October, like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm not quitting. Then I was told to wait. You know, it was just hard, because it's like, and it was heartbreaking too, because like I was saying, I wasn't in a very good environment where my support system was just very authentic to where it needed to be for me in terms of being in Auburn. And so I felt like I was battling internally. Then I also felt like I was battling with my committee. Then I felt like there was just so many things that I had to fight up against to get this degree. And I was just like, I just want to help people. And so it was a major test of my faith, because I had to learn how to sit down in uncomfortable moments. I had to learn how to just be patient with my journey and with God. And it was hard because I felt like I didn't do anything wrong, but I felt like I was being punished for doing something right. And it was hard because, you know, I was also like, no other person in my family had gotten their master's. So I couldn't go to, like, you know, my mentors and be like, help me, like, with, you know what I'm saying? I could, but also, I was walking an unbeaten path. You know, I was walking in a path that no one else really had walked on. And so that's also been another thing that grounded me so much in my life, to where I had to lean on no one but God. You know, and there will be moments in my prayers where I'm literally bawling, crying out in tears, like, please let this go away, let this be over. And he told me, he was like, it's gonna be another year, half a year. And I remember being upset with him and mad at him, like, how could you let this happen? You know, and it was a major test of my faith, because I had to lean on him. He was the only person that I could lean on was God. But through that, I was able to grow so much, just so much. You know, I was able to learn that I can go through really tough things, you know, and make it on the other side. And I was able to learn that I have so much power and resilience in my relationship with God, and the power that he gives me, you know, with my words and with my faith. And I had to also learn that not everything is going to go as planned, but it is going to go the way God intended it to go. You know, even in those moments where you're at your lowest, and you're so uncomfortable, but he's going to make a way for you. And that's what I had to lean on day in and day out when, you know, I'm not feeling at my best, or, you know, it's a struggle for me to, you know, do therapy because I know I'm not graduating on time, you know.
Yeah. No, that's pretty deep. Wow. Woo. Yeah. Well, in getting to that space even now, you know, just in looking back, you know, how does that feel?
That feels just, I don't even know the word to even say, but the way it feels is like, wow, I did it.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's more than a relief. It's more of like, it's like being proud of yourself, but it's also like being very, very grateful. Like, it's like I feel gratitude, because while I was on that journey of that half of a year, God was saying to me, he said, lay up in yourself treasures in your heart. And so what I did was, I was like, okay, I don't want to put like material things in my heart. I want to put things that are intangible. So I was like, I want to put love, and I want to put gratitude in my heart. And so through that half of a year, that's what he was doing. Like, he was showing me, different levels of love, showing me different levels of gratitude and what that feels like and what that means. And so right now, for where I am, I just feel so much love and so much gratitude, because that's what I put there. Like, even in my worst, pain, even in my worst, time, I chose to put two things that I felt like I could hold on to, and that was love and that was gratitude. Like, being grateful for going through this challenging time. And it's like, it sounds weird and it sounds like so contrasting from what you're feeling, but it's so real and authentic to me, because it's like, I didn't have anything. It's like I felt so helpless that the only thing I knew to hold on to was my faith, because that was the only thing that was going to get me through. And so I had to put inside my heart something that was real for me, and something that was real for me, like I said, was that love and that gratitude. And whether it came in the form of, binge watching a show, or whether it came in the form of, listening to jazz, or whether it came in the form of spending time with my family, whatever that meant for me, I held on to that, and I made it authentic. I made it real. I made it meaningful. And in that process, I was able to, forgive, and I was able to really see that you could overcome. You don't have to dish out bad when someone gives you bad. And I think that was a major lesson that I had to learn, that you can go through difficult times and people can really do some things to you that are really hurtful, but you don't have to stoop to their level.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have
That's
to do the things that they do, right?
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. That's awesome. Okay. Well, we're going to move to our closing segment, and it's called Matters of the Heart Moment. And so, starting off, if you could speak to your younger self, what would you say to her?
To my younger self, I would tell her to be patient with her journey. Even though she has many, many goals and many, many dreams, but to be patient with herself and enjoy the journey, but also to love herself. Because there was a time where I did not like me.
That's real.
I did not like me. I didn't like who I was. But to really, really understand and know that she's important and she's valued and she is going to make it.
I love it. Who motivates you?
It changes every day. But it's more or less, it's like I guess I could say it's like my tribe, my people, my village, my tribe, the people that are really, really close to me, my family. That's who motivates me.
Okay. And is there any last minute piece of advice you'd like to share?
A last piece of advice that I'd like to share would be, for people to, whatever it is, whatever dream, whatever goal that you have, to literally make that a part of yourself and literally trick yourself and say, you can do this. And when I say trick yourself, because sometimes we like to tell ourselves, I can't do this, or I'm not able. Like, trick yourself, because literally when I scroll through my Instagram feed and I read people's captions about how they've started on this journey where they doubted themselves and they've went beyond it, even for myself, to really, really, whatever it is that you want to do, to trick yourself and say you can do it. Because you have to understand, when you wake up every morning, that's your opportunity. My favorite
Absolutely.
word, yeah, it is. My favorite word to use in therapy is possibilities. And I think sometimes we lose sight of the possibilities that we have, because every moment of every day is a possibility. It's an opportunity. It's you getting one step closer to whatever it is that you want to do in your life. And use every moment and every day to make that possible for you. because it goes back to thine own self. Be true. Whatever it is that you want to do, as long as it's good, it's not harming somebody,
Right.
But
Right.
to do it, go for it. Really, really go for it. Yeah, it's going to be challenging, and yeah, it's going to be hard, but it is possible. It's possible. That's what I would say.
I love it. It's possible.
Yes.
Don't forget that. Yes, yes, yes. Well, Nakia, we definitely want to thank you so much for being with
Thank
us
you.
and just sharing with us today. You really have touched us in a major way, and so we just want to say thank you for that.
Oh, thank you too, and thank you for having me. This is such an awesome podcast. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Beautiful. And our goal at the Flora Pearl Foundation is to always be a blessing to all of those that we come in contact with by operating with the spirit of excellence. We want to thank you all so much for listening today, and you can visit our website at www.florapearlfoundation.org. We look forward to spending time with you all soon. Keep shining.